Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Allen, and I'm joined by my usual broadcast partner, former NHL defenseman Tom Laidlaw. Played 11 seasons, of course, with the New York Rangers and Los Angeles Kings. This is the Laidlaw and Allen Report. We come to you twice a week to talk all things hockey. And Tom, plenty to talk about today.
Yes.
Over the weekend, we had a lot of trades being made in anticipation of the protected list for the NHL Seattle Kraken expansion draft. That'll be on the 21st. But let's start with the most dramatic news, which was Carey Price being left off the protected list. They had talked to him about it. They wanted to save Jake Allen. And they're under the assumption that there's no way that the Seattle Kraken are going to take a $10.5 million goalie who's 35 years old and already sold out arena, so they don't need to fill their building. Are they wrong about that? Is this misguided? Is this a miscalculation? Could Seattle see it as, look, we're going to do what Vegas did when they embraced Marc-Andre Fleury, who was also an older goalie?
Yeah.
So
he's what, like 32 or 33, right? He's 35
yeah.
now. Yeah.
Tell me your thoughts on this.
Well, I mean, if you want credibility right off the bat, I guess there's lots of goalies out there too, but that's Carey Price. Arguably, I mean, there's Vasilevsky, but Carey Price is arguably the best goaltender in the National Hockey League and has been in that category for a while now. So, I mean, it gives you that instant credibility. You're right. They don't have to sell seats, but he's a character guy too, just like Fleury was. It's kind of like the, building that culture for your team, which, I believe is so important. I think Ron Francis probably does as well. So it is a gamble for sure. There's no question about it. But I guess the flip side for him, there's a lot of goaltenders out there. Again, it's not Carey Price, but there are other goaltenders out there too. So even if Montreal did lose Carey Price, they could grab somebody else. But yeah, it's a gamble. There's no question.
Yeah, I don't know what to think. Obviously, I think it is a gamble. But most people seem to think that Ron Francis is not going to go that way. I can make a strong case either way. Like, I can make a case for why the Kraken should take him. And starting out with a lot of the points you just made. He's a premier goalie. You establish credibility. The players on your team are going to go, whoa. We've got an all-time best. And the fan base, like, how many thousands of Kraken jerseys with Carey Price's number would be sold on that? I mean, it's advertising. I know they're sold out, and it's going to be a tough ticket, but that just adds to, kind of the aura of the team. There's reasons to do it. On the other hand, if I'm Ron Francis and, I don't think they're going to try to do it exactly the same way Vegas Golden Knights did it. Like, I think they're sort of going to try to walk, which is a hard walk. So halfway between taking the best possible team and then getting a younger team that assures that they're, going to be good in the future as well. And that's a tough walk. Well, if you're going to make that walk, can you do it with a 35-year-old goalie who's still playing at a high level, but he's not 25, and
right.
You're dealing with a pretty big cap hit for the next 5 years. As he gets farther into it, you're not going to be able to move him. So, and already we had heard prior to this happening that they were signing Dreiger out of Florida Panthers, who I think is in the 27, 28-year-old range, and they like him a lot. So I don't know. I don't think this is an easy call for Francis. And the other thing is we haven't even mentioned this, $11 million payment has to go to Carey Price in September. Ooh. So you're on the hook for a salary plus another $11 million signing bonus hit. Your owners have already paid millions of dollars for this franchise. And now you're going to go to them and say, well, because I want to establish an aura, I can't guarantee we're going to win a cup, but I want to take this, 35-year-old.
And you hear you. But imagine though, you get into the season and your goaltending isn't good enough, and you don't take Carey Price. Imagine everybody's calling for Ron Francis' head. They're saying, "Why didn't you take Carey Price, the best goaltender in the National Hockey League in the last 10 years? You didn't take him, right?"
Yeah, but if you do take them and the team doesn't perform well, and then everybody's going, "Well, what were you thinking?" So we got a good goalie, but our team is average, and now we have this heavy salary cap hit.
And the pressure, because of what Vegas did so early, is obviously there too. Like, it's typically in the past, expansion teams weren't expected to win, and nobody expected the Vegas to win either. Like, and even I still look at that team. I don't even think George McPhee thought that they were going to win. Now, he made some good pictures, no question about that, undoubtedly. But when they got like certain guys that they knew they could move at the trade deadline, it's a lot of pressure. It is a tough one for Ron Francis, but I mean, again, I just think, I guess I'm leaning more, now that we talk about it, I'm leaning more towards saying, how can you not take Carey Price if he's available to you? Pick another good younger goaltender. If it's a young guy from Florida, grab him if you believe that he can be your goaltender in the future. So you've got Carey Price for maybe 2 or 3 more years. Yes, it's a big cap hit. Like you said, they're already sold out. They're financially stable as an organization. I guess as we talk it through, then yes, I'm saying you have to take Carey Price. You got to make sure you got another goaltender. There's no question. And you're only going to have him, Carey Price for maybe 2, 3, 4 years tops. But still, I just don't see how you can.
You're going to have that cap hit for 5 years.
Yes,
totally. Regardless of what happens. I don't even know. This may not even be Ron's call. I mean, isn't this an ownership call at this point?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, if I'm Ron Francis, I've already gotten fired in Carolina. And, so to say, okay, but in fairness to Ron Francis, everybody can look and say, well, Ron Francis did a good job in building a lot of that team that's there now in Carolina. So, okay, he's got a track record, knows what he's doing. But you definitely have to have the conversation. I'm sure the owners are going to say, well, what do you think? He's going to say, well, this is arguably the best goaltender in the National Hockey League. But yes, like you said, there's a huge bonus to be paid right off the bat, and that big salary too. So,
well, and there's another issue too. Is does Carey want this? Maybe he does. He went along with it. Maybe he's thinking, I'm at the end of the stage of my career. My wife's from Washington State. My family's out in that, at least in the West.
Yep.
Not in that country, but maybe he's just thinking this might be a nice place for me to go and settle and raise a family, and or is he thinking, well, I'm doing this because I'm trying to save my buddy Jake Allen, and then it backfires. Is he going to be an unhappy camper being stuck in Seattle? You don't want to, he doesn't have any option. He's got to play there, and I'm sure he will, but you don't want an unhappy goalie.
But I guess, again, I don't know Carey Price, and he certainly hasn't said anything, but a lot of pressure on him in Montreal, right? I mean, he's the savior there.
Yeah.
And Montreal's, now maybe he's saying, listen, I've had enough of this. Montreal's a great city to play in, but man, the pressure's mounting on me all the time. We almost won this year. Let's go out there. He saw what happened in Vegas. He knows that they do a good job. They got a chance of winning. I wonder if I was going to say Montreal certainly wouldn't give permission to talk to Carey Price beforehand for Seattle to talk to him. So.
Well, the other issue too is, and it's worth reminding everybody, the no movement clause, which he is waiving, is with the contract. Like, he's not waiving it all the time. He's waiving it just to be allowed to be drafted. So, he's still in total control once he gets to Seattle if they take him.
Yep.
I don't think this is a real easy decision for anyone. And I'm sure, I don't think I've known Ron Francis a long time, and I agree with you. I think he'll do a very good job there. And I don't think he'll shy away. I don't think he'll wash his hands of this and say to owners, well, it's your call. It's $50 million, dollars. I think what he'll say is, I'd like to have him, but this is a type of situation where, there's so much financial ramifications for this. I really think you need to make the final decision. But my recommendation is, because I think I don't think he'll say this is all on you.
I agree.
But you wouldn't want a GM that does that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He's there to make decisions. He's there to make hockey decisions. Yes, I agree with you, though. He has to consult with them because that's a big financial hit.
And I do think ultimately it is their decision, because they have to sign off on it, even if Ron wants to do that. But a lot of other things going on. Nick Leddy gone from the New York Islanders, big trade. It caught Detroit fans by surprise. This isn't the kind of trade that Steve Yzerman has made during the rebuild. I think my initial thought was, I'm going to be totally honest, he's flipping him. He's holding him for someone. He's going to protect him, and then he's going to flip him. But it appears that is not the case, that he got him because he wanted a veteran defenseman who could move the puck, who could be here when Mo Seider gets to town next year, the number one prospect outside the NHL, who has some offensive ability as well as being just a horse on defense. And they wanted somebody who could kind of show him the ropes. And here's an important aspect. Last season, Nick Leddy, playing for a defensive team, not a great offensive team, had more points than anyone on the Detroit team.
Yeah.
He would have been the leading scorer.
Yeah. I think it's a great move by Yzerman. Again, they're not a contender to win the cup yet, but I think like we saw like we've seen in Edmonton, I just don't think they provided a winning environment for those young players coming into Edmonton. And I think Steve Yzerman is smart enough to say that. I'm not saying that Leddy makes you a playoff team right away, but it makes you a competitive team right away. He comes from a winning organization. He knows how to win. He's professional. I saw him play a lot here because he was in New York. Man, he is good. He's one of those guys that, as much as he's getting a lot of accolades now, he's still, I think, an underrated defenseman. He's really good. Can move the puck, play well defensively, great skater. That was unfortunately for the Islanders and Islanders fans. That's a tough move.
Well, if you look at advanced stats, I think he has more, or at least up in the top players among skating the puck through the neutral zone. Right. Like there aren't many defensemen who skate it through the neutral zone as much as he does, which is very important. Detroit had all kinds of trouble on power play entries.
Right.
Their power. If you're just sort of a general fan. You don't realize that half the battle on the power play is getting the puck in the zone and getting control of it. Like, it's not easy when everybody's standing up at that blue line trying to get that puck in if you don't have a bunch of skilled players. And Detroit doesn't. They have young players with skill, and they're not experienced. So Nick Leddy will know how to get the puck into the zone, and I think that will help them. And, let's look at it from Lou's perspective. He had protection problems. He's got cab problems. He's got Barry Trotz. He's got a good defensive system. He has strong goaltending. What he didn't have was a strong offense. So in order to build a strong offense, he needs dollars. And he had to give someone up. And he wanted to keep Mayfield. He wanted to keep I'm drawing a completely Pollock. And who was his third defenseman there?
I can't remember now. Yeah.
That's terrible. He's a really good player.
Did you hear the rumor that there's a rumor going on that Dave Poyle is calling the league trying to get an exemption so that Ron Francis can take both of his forwards, Matt Duchene and Ryan Johansson. He wants to get rid of him so bad. I heard there's a rumor going on like that.
You're totally making that up.
Yes.
So, speaking of now, let's talk about another trade, which has really caught a lot of us by surprise. And I keep wanting to, and I haven't done it yet, send a email to Bill Daly to ask him about the legitimacy of it. How can you trade Andrew Ladd and 3 draft picks for nothing?
Was that what it was? I didn't see that. Oh.
Yeah, for nothing. Like, there's no return. Usually it says future considerations or, a jar of peanut butter or, something. And it's just Andrew Ladd and 3 draft picks.
I didn't see that.
Picks. One of them's a second rounder.
Wow.
Going to Arizona for nothing.
Wow.
So what?
Yeah. Remember they used to.
How can that be legal?
Well, remember in the past they wouldn't allow that kind of stuff, right? I mean, that's kind of gone away.
Well, I know for sure that you can't sell off your players.
Yeah.
So but I mean, it just looks funny. I mean, this has been going on for a while, but usually you at least try to show something. A 7th round pick or
Yeah, like you said, future considerations. Yeah, great move by the Rangers trading for Goudreau.
We'll get to that. I want to move around a little bit on that. I just want to stay on the Islanders one more time around and just ask about. They've got a lot of interesting players exposed including Josh Bailey.
Yeah.
Um,
Kyle
Everly.
Clutterbuck, was Clutterbuck available too?
No, they saved him.
Oh.
You got that? You got that up?
I'll try to find it here. Hold on.
I think Clutterbuck saved is
Oh, okay.
protected.
Oh.
And but you got Everly is Kiefer Bellows. Is he protected?
I think he was protected or not eligible. I didn't see him on the list of unprotected guys.
He is eligible. So,
okay.
But if I'm Ron Francis, I don't care about Kiefer Bellows. You need to score right away. That's the thing you got to worry about. Like if I'm Ron Francis, and I'm sure you're going to look at it as a defenseman. You're going to look at it. Look, I want to make sure I got 6 solid defensemen, and
right.
I would too for sure. But I think it's harder in an expansion draft, the way it's set up, to get scorers, because you can protect 7 forwards. That means you're into your third line, where with defensemen, if you're getting the 4th best defenseman, you're getting a guy that's going to play in your top 4. So you should get a bunch of guys who can play in your top 4. So if I take either Bailey or Everly, I would. I guess I would take Everly.
Yeah, he's available.
But, yeah. Do you have that up now?
Yeah, Everly. Actually, Susan's doing a good job here. Everly is available.
Yeah, for sure. I knew that. But Everly and Josh Bailey, what I don't recall was, I think Kiefer Bellows, there was a lot of talk, and I don't remember what he.
Yeah, I'll have to find him. Protected list. Okay, hold on one second.
Yeah, Kiefer Bellows has been slow to develop, but a lot of people around the league have told me that they still think he's got it in him.
Yeah.
What do you think? You see him?
Oh yeah, those young kids. I don't like it when people give up on those kids, and I keep going back to Nathan McKinnon so often because his first 3 or 4 years, everybody was giving up on him too. Cizikas and Bellows are available. Cizikas and Bellows.
Yeah. I mean, so if Bellows is available, I think you got to at least think about that because he's young.
Yeah.
But I do think you got to make sure you've got 6 forwards that you can put out there and, who can legitimately get you some scoring.
Yeah, definitely. Because you looked at the list of goaltenders that are available either as like free agents and defensemen. I mean, Dougie Hamilton, Mark Giordano from Calgary is available. I mean, there's a lot of good defensemen available either through they're free agents and left available both. So
yeah, I mean, you got to take Giordano.
Oh, I think so. Yes,
37 years old.
Yeah,
but he's only got 1 year left on his contract, and he's still playing at a high level.
Yeah, he's a captain too. Yeah, he's apparently a great leader and all that kind of stuff. I think you're right. Exactly. Think about it. If you do go back to Carey Price, you take him. You got Giordano. I mean, right there, that's good leadership in your locker room. Right now, you're starting off. Now you can get some good young players in there as well. I'm not a huge fan of Dougie Hamilton, but a lot of people are. But he's available as well. So
yeah. Well, Hamilton, you know what you're getting with him. Yeah. So and. He's a guy that's really going to have some offensive impact, and he's a big guy, and he's your rover, type. You think?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, I probably haven't watched him as much. Maybe I don't like him because he wants to be called Dougie. I mean, anybody who wants to be called Dougie, and you're Doug, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. But. Anyway, so I think Lou has been Lou, and he's done a lot of talk that he'll end up with Parise. He's sticking his nose in other situations as well. Maybe Tarasenko. I expect he'll come out with a couple of new forwards, new scorers. I don't think there's any question about that. And who knows? I mean, maybe Parise and Suter both end up there. But I saw something that tells me that maybe the Ryan Suter situation isn't going to be as traditional as we see when players get bought out. Usually, those guys end up, signing for a little less, and then they play with the team. If I was Ryan Suter, I'd sign for 1 year with the team and see if I liked it. He's getting $6 million this year, prorated down to 2/3, so $4 million. So he could play for a couple $1 million and still have a good. But I've heard, I think I saw a story where and maybe I'll call Neil about this. Neil Sheehy is his agent, saying he's looking for a multi-year deal. So if he's looking for that, that takes a lot of teams out.
Yeah, it would take me out too. I mean, I'd like Suter, but I mean,
Still
maybe,
playing well, yeah.
Yeah. But if he's going to want big money still too, like
that was the implication, but I don't know. I haven't talked to Neil, so but he's still playing 22 minutes a game. Probably that's the way they wanted it spread around there, but I bet he could still play 23, 24.
Yeah.
Still a very good player, good one-on-one defender.
So who's going to want him? A team that's a contender is obviously going to want him.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking he'd go like for 1 year to Boston. Or maybe even Tampa. If Tampa calls and said, look, you're going to have to switch sides, but I think if anybody could do it, it could be Ryan Suter.
Oh,
but you play 1 year for us for 1.5 million plus bonuses, and maybe you can win.
But he's the fifth defenseman there, right?
Well, you're trying to win. Like what Neil Sheehy said was his priority. He wanted to try to win a cup.
Okay. Well, another place, St. Louis too, right? They're still a contender in my mind. And losing Pietrangelo certainly hurts. So he goes and fills that spot.
Yeah, no, that could be good, and they could actually give him a longer term deal.
Yeah.
So I mean that could be a fit, and it's hard. Like we're not in 1980 where you could identify 4 teams that have a good chance to win a cup.
Yeah.
You start listing the teams that have a chance to win a cup. You stop at 15. In this
exactly. List. Well, who would have guessed that Montreal was going to make it to the finals, right? So, maybe it's a team like a Vancouver, let's say, that it has all those good young players. That had an off year last year. It hurt them losing their goaltender Markstrom, but you get a guy like that in there with those young players. Maybe they take a run at it too. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. We spent a lot of time on the Islanders, but there was a lot of movement there that went on.
Yeah.
And Susan brought up, because I really like this move too, Barclay Goodrow, and I like for 2 reasons. Number one is you gave up nothing, a 7th round pick, for the chance to talk to him early and just let him know how determined you are, the Rangers, to sign him. And he is exactly what the Rangers need, in my opinion. And oftentimes fans who just have general knowledge about the game don't understand when you say you want to get tougher, that they think of as fighters or guys that are ramming people in the corners. No, what you want is guys who can take it and can deliver it in terms of hitting, but more importantly, are hard to play against.
Yes.
That's what you're really trying to accomplish. You want to be hard to play against. And that's Goodrow. He's difficult to play. He's always there. He's on you when you're trying to get the puck out. And I just thought this was a good sign, and it was a good message to the fan base. Like, we know what the issue is, and we're going to address it.
Absolutely, yeah. And they had Lemieux, who filled that role for him, but he wanted to get out of here. I don't know why. I guess he felt he wasn't getting played enough. So I think it really hurt when they lost him, because he's a hard guy to play against. So getting Goodrow back is exactly what they need. And it also teaches the other young kids, okay, this is how you play winning hockey, right? This is what it is to be tough. You're right. The fighting days are gone, right? But we can't get pushed around by Matt Martin. We can't get pushed around by Tom Wilson. No. We have to compete. Yep.
Well, and you need guys who also can play. Like Goodrow can play on the third line. He's a dependable player. He's not one dimensional. He can get out there and get some things accomplished. So I like that. I would think that they really think they have a good chance to sign him, or they wouldn't have done that. So
definitely. If I'm him, I want to come here. This is a good young hockey team. Yeah, things fell apart there at the end, and all the firings and all that kind of stuff. But this team's got a fantastic future ahead of them. They are what the Tampa Bay Lightning were probably 5-6 years ago, right? So they're good.
Well, and on your checklist, if you're Goodrow, Stanley Cup is checked off twice.
Yeah, true. Yep.
He's got his cups.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what happens, he is Stanley Cup winner, Goodrow. So,
so how many teams do we know? Did you go through the list? I know Tampa protected 4 defensemen, so they could only protect 4 forwards. How many? Did anybody else do that?
Oh yeah, for sure. The Nashville Predators comes to mind. They protected 4 defensemen. There were other teams. I don't recall all of them, but the list available forwards in Tampa is shameful in terms of the embarrassment of riches. Like,
Right.
you know, they've got Palat, Exposed, Gordy. They've got,
Warren, yeah.
you
So,
know,
but here's the thing, Kev. So imagine the conversations that Julian Breesbaugh, the general manager, has to have with those players, right? Because it is a little bit of I understand that they're going to say, well, look at all the other guys that we had to keep and protect them. You know, those are some pretty elite players, Hall of Famers probably. But still, it's a little bit of a slap in the face when you're left exposed, right? I mean, the GM's got to do some good work to say, listen, guys, we were forced to do this. I'm sorry. I hope it didn't hurt your ego, whatever it is. But those guys will be some interesting conversations.
well, for sure, and a lot of them probably are watching the Laidlaw and Allen report, and they know that you thought that that Stamkos should have been traded, which would have made things a little easier. You know, you could kept Ward or Palat or
It's not over yet. Not over yet.
But yeah, so
maybe he'll trade him because he thinks he can get something for him instead of just expose him in the expansion draft, getting nothing for him.
Well, he's probably going to lose a forward. I got to think you're going to take one of those guys. And although Cal Foote's out there, If I'm Tampa, I want him to take the forward.
Yes.
Then I keep Cal Foote. I don't have much coming in the system.
Right.
So and not everybody thinks Cal Foote's going to be Adam Foote. But you need some younger players, and I just think he's probably their best prospect. So
I like that Killorn. I'd say he's that banging forward too. Yeah, I'd like to get him, but good choices.
Yeah, for sure. They took the two younger players, obviously, in Braden Point and Cirelli. And this was all about basically saving Cernak as well, who's also younger, but he's not 20, but he's in his mid-20s.
So what do you think the conversation David Poyle has with Matt Duchene and Johansson? He says, well, guys, I hope they take both of you.
Well, I think everybody's aware of that, but they're going to take neither. So it doesn't really matter. Like, there's no discussion. Like, they're not sitting around and debating whether or not to take Duchene and Johansson.
Yeah, I know. How embarrassing is that as a player, though? You're signed as you're traded for Seth Jones in Johansson's case. You're part of a huge trade in Matt Duchene. You signed these big contracts. And now you're left exposed in the expansion draft, and nobody thinks you're going to take it. That's like yeah. Jesus, if that doesn't wake them up, oh man, that better wake them up. I'll tell you. Like, that's the thing to me. Like guys, what are you doing to your careers? That's my feelings on that one.
Yeah. What did you think about Ryan Ellis going to Philadelphia?
Oh, I forgot about that one. Wow, that's a big move by Philly. I like him a lot as a player. Look at all the defensemen that have come through that system there in Nashville, right? Shea Weber was there, Suter was there, Ryan Ellis. I'm missing other guys too. And how about Philadelphia? Like, Gostisbehere left unprotected, right? That player went from being like a guy that everybody thought was going to win a Norris Trophy to now he's unprotected.
Yeah, and I'm not sure they're going to take him.
Yeah, I wouldn't take him. No.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think, again, you got to add up, and I haven't done this yet. You got to add up and make sure you have 6 players that could score. Yeah. And if you don't, you have to take James Van Riemsdyk. Now, not everybody's going to love James Van Riemsdyk, but he scores goals.
Yeah. Well, and Voracek's up available too, there, right?
Yeah. But I think I would take Van Riemsdyk over Voracek.
Yeah. So I don't know. It is kind of a toss-up. Yeah. How about the other one? Our good friend James Patrick's nephew, Nolan Patrick, going to up in Vegas, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. Two younger players whose development hasn't lived up to expectations. Right. Glass comes back and goes to Nashville, and it's interesting that Poyle was willing to give up Patrick. I mean, Patrick was a top pick.
Yeah,
number 2. Didn't he go second?
Yeah, he was second overall. Yeah, there was a little bit of something going on there. Like, he missed all of 2 seasons ago with the migraines from concussions and everything. Or it was, not migraines. It was from concussions. And we talked to James Patrick about this, that the team was trying to go around saying that it was migraines, and it wasn't. It was a concussion. There was some conflict between the two parties there. I don't know if that was part of it or not, but yeah, he clearly has not played the way he was expected to play.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't use, and Vegas didn't use Glass in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I think both players haven't kind of come along. So, but obviously, even though Glass was not drafted as early as Patrick was. Boyle must have liked him better.
Yeah, totally.
So they went in that direction.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts just in general of the number of trades? The thing that struck me was, are we getting to the point now, and maybe it's just because we've had the COVID-19 flat cap, but it sure seems now that people are reluctant to give longer term deals. Now, saying that, Nugent Hopkins and Adam Larson are both getting longer deals, but they're taking really reasonable yearly averages in order to do that.
Yeah.
Like, Nugent Hopkins was lower than I would have thought he would have gotten on the marketplace. Adam Larson, I heard, might be in the 3.9, 4,
wow.
something like that. So.
Yeah, well, I know. Yeah, I mean, if I'm a general manager right now with the flat cap, I mean, expect it will go up maybe in 2, 3, 4 years. But yeah, if I'm a general manager, I'm thinking to all the problems these teams are getting into, and are they really getting their money's worth? I look at Pietrangelo in Vegas. I say, okay, that's a good one. But a lot of these teams, man, they get into these long-term deals for big money, and they strap themselves to have to lose other players. Yeah, I'd be really cautious if I was them too. Like, look at Taylor Hall. I mean, I thought they did the right move there. I thought he did the right move for himself too. Okay, let's go in and play great. But he really didn't. He didn't play great in Buffalo. He played better in Boston. But still, if I'm a GM, I'm not jumping to give him a 6 or 7 year deal either.
No, I think his expectations are tempered too because of that.
Yeah.
I don't think he thinks he's going to get it. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to Mike Hoffman too. This is a guy at the end of last season who thought, he was going to do really well and get a big number. And now I'm hearing there'll be no big numbers and there'll be no term. So
yeah. I would take a flyer on him on a 1 year deal, but that's about it. I wouldn't spend a whole lot.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. That's
okay. So I want to kind of paint the picture here now. So was your wife kind of like leaning forward and watching my cooking video yesterday? He's going, CMOS. That Tom is brilliant. CMOS.
Well, first of all, my wife makes smoothies that look just as distasteful as yours did.
It was distasteful.
Yeah. Now, my wife was in South Carolina, so I still haven't seen her in a while. She went down there to be with my daughter and stuff. So, and my grandkids were down there. Usually on Sunday, I look forward to seeing, you've usually got some nice salmon going and you got sweet potatoes or rice and everything. And today I'm looking at, my wife makes these ones and they have jalapenos in them. And,
nice.
And they're always green.
Yeah.
They're never a color that makes me think, I'd like to have that.
Well, mine was a brown and green kind of. It was
just chocolate. Now, look, I know you know what you're doing, and you're going to live to be 100. But I'm not going in that. I would eat all of your cooking. It looks scrumptious every time, but
I trust me, it was delicious. So you get it like with the avocado when you blend that up, it's nice and creamy and everything like that. The spinach is all blended up. The banana with the skin on it is 30% more, or some say 35% more nutrients with skin on it. You don't notice anything. It's just like a.
You talked about nutrients and smoothness and all that stuff. What you haven't said a word about is taste.
Tasty. It is tasty though. I promise you.
Yeah. My wife says that too, and she really likes hers. But I've tried them, and
you don't like it.
Yeah, I guess because I think it's going to taste like a milkshake or like a smoothie that you get from Orange Julius or something.
Right.
And they're not. At any time you got things like seaweed and things in them. That's like that one yesterday. I got to say, because I'm so used to your Sunday. Or you got the corn all stacked up nicely, and there was none of that. So that yesterday afternoon was your dinner, your lunch.
That was my lunch. Yes. Yep. Yeah. 520 calories. 520 calories of pure goodness.
Yeah. And you sat down and you said, "Man, what a great lunch."
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So is that a treat for you? Like you wouldn't do that every week, but it's special.
No, I have that smoothie every day.
Oh, you had that smoothie. So you never eat lunch? So you go 16 hours without eating, and then you have that, and you say, "Well, I'm good."
Sometimes I switch it up. So like every other day, I may have a bigger, like more of a meal, and then sometimes I always have that smoothie. It may be at noon or maybe like at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
So if you have it at noon, you haven't eaten for 16 hours.
Yep.
You had 500 calories of delightful
Yes.
seaweed mixture, smoothness, and no, what? It's not seaweed. What did you say was in it?
Sea moss.
Sea moss.
It comes from the Caribbean. It comes from Belize.
Okay, from Belize. Okay, so you have that now, and then how many hours you go?
Well, if I have that first, if I break the fast with that, then I eat probably around 2 o'clock again with more of a meal. If I have more of a meal at noon, may have that smoothie at 4 o'clock, something like that.
So, and for an 18-hour period, all you're going to have eaten is the seaweed smoothie.
Yes. Well, okay, so we start the day with our amino energy drink and our
that's 17.
That's exactly 19 calories, and then we start off with a shot of ginger and turmeric, which is I think about 80 calories, and then we have that. So, yes,
right. And so then after you have so you have more of a meal. So what might you have at 2 o'clock then?
So in that case, so I would make up something like I have like today. I made up a little pasta, multi-grain pasta with I know a little bit of cheese, a little mozzarella cheese and tomato and onions. So we'll have that available to us. Or it depends on what's going on. We can throw some salmon on the cast iron skillet in the grill and make up some potatoes, maybe some air fried potatoes, something like that.
Now you're because you're so healthy, you only do you don't do farm raised salmon, right? You only do fresh.
No, I don't mind doing the farm raised or the wild caught salmon. Yeah, I'm not.
Well, wild caught is what you should be doing, like
right. But I do either one. I don't really. I don't really like. And I'm actually not. I know the organic thing with the chemicals and everything, but growing up on a farm, I'm not totally sold that just because they say it's organic, it actually is organic.
Yeah, but I've seen stuff about farm raised fish, and you would definitely want wild caught if you can get it.
Yes, I do, but I would not shy away from having farm raised salmon.
Yeah, well, if you ever eat it at a restaurant, like what do you do if you're out in a restaurant, like you're out with the buddies and everybody says, hey, let's run out and get a beer and have that. Like what would you eat?
Well, I never drink when I'm out. So I guess if I'm driving, especially, I'll have a cocktail at home, but I never drink when I'm out. So that'd be water for me. And most restaurants, if you go to, they have some pretty healthy alternatives, right?
Oh, yeah. So what would you do? Like, would you order just a piece of salmon and?
Yeah, preferably a piece of salmon and like something that I would cook at home. Or, some places you have a nice, like if they have a nice whole grain bread or something like that, have a salmon club. With some bacon on it, that kind of stuff that I normally wouldn't have at home, but yeah.
Yeah. But you do bacon, but only sparingly, right?
Yes, sparingly. Yes. Yeah. And in fact, I hadn't had bacon for probably a couple of years and I just got back into bacon. That was a big step, but I do it in the air fryer. So it's not sitting on its own grease and everything.
When one of my daughters first became vegetarian, she said the food she missed the most was bacon.
Yeah, that is true. Like I've gotten to the point now where I rarely have red meat. Like I maybe have a steak or something maybe once every 3 months. And I really don't desire it at all. It's more salmon, cod, turkey.
Yeah, I had never been much of a steak person before, but I do like a hamburger now and then. So
yes, that's true. But a nice turkey burger.
Yeah. I don't mind turkey burgers. I feel you got to doctor them too much. Or to make them like I go and my son-in-law is a really good cook, but he's also very spice oriented, and I think sometimes you lose the flavor of the meat if you're putting 16 spices on it.
That's true.
I hate to say that I actually admit that I watched this, but I watched Bobby Flay one time. He was talking about that one of the mistakes you can make is to over-spice thing is you lose the flavor of the meat.
That's true. Especially with a nice steak, right? It's just salt and pepper with a good steak. I mean, if you're using like a flank steak or something like that, then maybe you season it up a little bit more. But
yeah, makes sense. Yeah. All right. Well, we've ended the cooking portion of all of this, and of course, we've already finished our hockey segment. But we'll be back on Wednesday. In the meantime, you can read me at hockeybuzz.com or Detroit Hockey Now.
And again, guys, you can go to 365 Sports on radio.co. Again, that's 365 Sports at radio.co to hear the radio version of the show again. And we'll see everybody on Wednesday.